The airplane was steady as it climbed higher into the sky. Sunlight poured through the small oval windows, painting golden stripes across the seats. Passengers were slowly settling in, adjusting their bags, opening books, or talking quietly to their companions. The soft hum of the engines created a calm background, but the occasional squeak of a cart rolling down the aisle reminded everyone that they were in motion. In seat 12B, a young boy named Leo rested on his mother's lap. Leo was just 2 years old. His hair was dark and soft, and his small brown eyes seemed to take in everything around him. His tiny fingers reached out for the seat pocket, the tray table, and the window shade, making it clear that sitting still was never going to be easy. His mother, Anna, tried to keep him calm. She had packed a small bag full of toys, snacks, and a favorite blanket. "Leo, here is your toy," she said, handing him a small plush rabbit. But Leo barely looked at it. He dropped the toy immediately and turned his attention to the passengers in front of him. Some people smiled at the boy. "He is so cute," a woman whispered to her friend. Others sighed quietly, adjusting their seats to keep away from Leo's tiny hands. A few looked around with mild annoyance, as though they wished the little boy would suddenly grow up. Suddenly, a flight attendant named Maya appeared in the aisle. She moved gracefully in her uniform, her badge shining softly in the light. She had a calm, professional smile, but her eyes flicked to Leo immediately. There was something about his restless energy that caught her attention. "Ma'am, would it be okay if the baby sits in a different seat? It will be more comfortable for him," Maya said politely, stopping by Anna's side. Anna shook her head gently. "No, he is fine with me. He doesn't like strangers," she explained. Her voice was calm but firm. She was used to Leo's moods. Sometimes new people or new places made him nervous. Maya nodded, still smiling. "Of course I understand. I just wanted to help if it was needed," she said, then moved down the aisle to attend to other passengers. Leo's eyes followed her as she walked away. He didn't cry or fuss, but his little body seemed to tense up. He looked around the cabin, taking in the rows of seats, the people talking softly, and the overhead compartments glinting in the sunlight. Something about the airplane fascinated him. He wiggled in his mother's lap and reached toward the window. Anna held him close, patting his back gently. "It's okay, Leo, we are going to have a good flight," she whispered. Her calm presence seemed to soothe him a little, but not completely. Nearby, a man in seat 11A noticed Leo staring at him. He smiled and waved quietly. Leo blinked and stared back, then suddenly laughed, a small, bright sound that made Anna smile. Some passengers turned to look, surprised at the sudden happiness in the little boy's voice. A young woman across the aisle, holding her coffee, whispered to her companion, "That baby is so curious. Look at the way he watches everyone." Leo's laughter caught the attention of another flight attendant who paused in the aisle, but Leo had already turned his head toward a little girl a few rows back. He giggled, and the girl waved back shyly. The cabin filled with small ripples of quiet amusement as passengers watched the tiny interactions. Anna whispered again, "Leo, let's try your snack." She opened a small container of fruit and offered it to him. Leo took a piece but quickly dropped it. He looked back at the window, as if something outside was far more interesting than anything inside. The hum of the engines continued, steady and comforting. The sunlight shifted slowly, making golden patterns on the seats and the floor. Passengers adjusted their positions, some reading, some dozing lightly, and some watching Leo with quiet curiosity. Leo's eyes suddenly widened as he spotted Maya returning down the aisle. He watched her closely, his expression focused. The flight attendant approached the mother and child again, holding a gentle, polite smile. "Would it be all right if I help him for a moment? Just to make him more comfortable?" she asked softly. Anna hesitated, feeling a mixture of concern and curiosity. She wanted to trust Maya, but she knew Leo was sensitive around strangers. As Maya's calm presence grew closer, Leo's reaction was about to surprise everyone on the plane in a way no one expected. Maya stopped by Anna and Leo again, her gentle smile still in place. She crouched slightly to be closer to the boy's level. "Hi there, little one. My name is Maya. Would you like to see something special?" she asked softly, holding a small, colorful toy in her hand. Leo blinked and stared at her. His tiny hands clutched the edge of his mother's shirt. He did not cry and he did not move toward her. Instead, he just watched. The passengers nearby began to lean slightly forward, curious about what might happen. A baby's reaction on a plane could be unpredictable, and everyone sensed something unusual was about to unfold. Anna whispered to him, "Leo, it's okay. She's just trying to help." She smiled gently, hoping to calm his nervous energy. But Leo did not look at her. His eyes remained fixed on Maya, his expression unreadable. Maya slowly moved the toy, letting it spin gently between her fingers. It glittered under the sunlight from the window. "See this?" she said softly. "It can spin around and make shapes in the light." Leo's eyes widened. His little mouth opened slightly in surprise. He leaned forward just a tiny bit, but Anna held him safely on her lap. The cabin was quiet now. Even the passengers who had been busy with their phones or books paused, sensing that something special was happening. Then, Leo did something unexpected. He reached one tiny hand toward Maya, not in fear, not in resistance, but with pure curiosity. The gesture was so delicate that it almost seemed like he was asking permission, rather than demanding anything. Maya's face lit up. She stayed very still, letting him decide what to do. "Good boy," she whispered. "You are very brave." The passengers began to notice. A man in the row behind Anna whispered, "Look at him. He isn't scared at all. Most kids would cry." A woman across the aisle smiled, shaking her head. "He's something else," she said softly. Leo's hand wavered, then slowly touched the spinning toy. His fingers grazed it lightly. His eyes sparkled with fascination. A small laugh escaped him, soft and bright. The sound was so pure that it made several passengers smile. Some even leaned slightly closer, unable to resist watching the tiny miracle unfold in front of them. Anna could hardly believe it. "Leo, you are amazing," she whispered. She felt a mix of relief and pride. Her little boy, usually shy around strangers, was responding with curiosity instead of fear. Maya slowly handed the toy closer to him, letting him hold it fully. Leo grabbed it gently, turning it in his small hands. The colors reflected in the sunlight, and he let out another tiny laugh. Other passengers began to murmur softly to each other, astonished by his reaction. A young girl 2 rows ahead peeked back at Leo, and he waved at her while still holding the toy. She waved back, giggling. The entire atmosphere in that section of the plane shifted. People who had been tense or impatient now smiled. There was a warmth spreading through the cabin, all because of a tiny boy's innocent curiosity. Maya watched quietly, letting him explore. "You have a good eye, Leo," she said softly. "You notice everything." Leo turned the toy slowly, focusing so intently that it seemed as if nothing else in the plane existed. His laughter came again, a sound so light and joyful that even the flight attendants passing by paused to look. Anna patted him gently. "You like her, don't you?" she whispered. Leo responded with a small, excited giggle. It was the first time he had reacted this way to someone outside their family. Maya smiled at Anna. "He is a special little boy," she said quietly. "Some children are cautious, but Leo, he is brave in his own way." The plane moved steadily above the clouds. Outside, the sky was bright blue, and the sunlight shifted softly across the seats. Inside, the cabin was alive with gentle excitement. Passengers who had been worried about a restless child now watched with admiration. Leo, small and full of wonder, had turned a simple moment into something magical. As the airplane continued its journey, one thing became clear. This little boy, who had initially seemed timid and cautious, had shown courage and curiosity in a way that surprised everyone. And the passengers, now smiling quietly, realized they had witnessed a moment that would stay in their memory long after the flight ended. The airplane continued to fly steadily, the soft hum of the engines blending with the quiet chatter of passengers. Yet in seat 12B, the small corner of the plane where Leo and his mother sat, the atmosphere had changed completely. The initial tension and anxiety had melted into curiosity and delight. Leo held the colorful toy tightly, turning it in his small hands. His tiny fingers fumbled at first, but soon he discovered how to make it spin faster. Each movement created patterns of light that danced across his face, and with every new sparkle, his laughter grew brighter. The people nearby couldn't help but notice. A man in the row in front of them, who had been reading a newspaper, lowered it to watch. "Look at that boy," he whispered to his wife. "He's not just brave. He's clever. See how carefully he moves that toy." Anna watched Leo with a mix of pride and amazement. Her son had always been shy with strangers, but Maya's gentle approach had broken through his hesitation. She smiled softly. Leo, you are incredible, she whispered. Maya knelt slightly, letting him focus on the toy without feeling rushed. Do you like it? She asked. Leo nodded, a small determined motion. He began spinning the toy faster, and each turn made the little lights shimmer across the aisle. Other children on the plane noticed. A girl a few rows behind clapped her hands softly. Leo looked at her and giggled, waving his small hand. The excitement began to ripple through the cabin. A passenger in 14C leaned over to his neighbor. That baby is making everyone smile. It's amazing how something so small can change the whole mood, he said. Leo's laughter was soft but infectious. A woman sitting near the window whispered to the man beside her. I think he just made everyone happier without even trying. Look at how quiet the cabin is now, peaceful, almost magical. Anna felt a warmth in her chest. She had flown with Leo many times, but nothing like this had ever happened before. It was as if her son had a way of connecting with people without words. His tiny hands, his wide eyes, and his joyful laughter had captivated the adults and children alike. Maya remained calm, giving him space to explore. You have a wonderful imagination, Leo, she said softly. I can see you noticing everything around you. Leo's attention shifted for a moment to the overhead compartments. He reached up slightly, pointing at them with curiosity. Maya and Anna watched him carefully, making sure he stayed safe on her lap. Leo's tiny gestures and expressions were so full of emotion that passengers couldn't look away. A young boy in row 10, seated with his father, leaned over the aisle to watch Leo's toy. Dad, look at that baby. He's amazing, he whispered. Even from several rows away, people were drawn to Leo's energy. Anna laughed softly, trying not to disturb the growing attention around them. I don't know where he gets this energy, she said quietly to Maya. He's usually quiet like this only at home. Maya smiled. Sometimes children surprise us. Leo is showing us a different side of him. He is brave, curious, and full of wonder, she said. Suddenly, Leo dropped the toy for a moment and turned his head toward the aisle. His eyes met another passenger's, an elderly woman sitting alone with a book. The woman smiled gently, and Leo responded with a small wave. It was so natural, so innocent, that the flight attendants passing by paused to look at the scene. The plane felt lighter somehow. The passengers, once quiet and absorbed in their own activities, were now noticing each other, sharing smiles and soft whispers. Leo had unknowingly created a connection, a chain of gentle joy that spread from seat to seat. Anna held him close, proud and amazed. Leo, you are making everyone happy, she whispered. Leo giggled again, a bright sound that seemed to carry through the small section of the plane. Maya stood and looked around, satisfied that her gentle approach had worked. The baby who had been fussy and shy only moments ago was now the center of attention, not in a disruptive way, but in a way that brought warmth to everyone on the plane. Passengers continued to watch quietly, some leaning slightly in their seats, all smiling. Leo's small hands, his bright eyes, and his innocent laughter had created a moment none of them would forget. The flight continued, but in the small corner around seat 12B, the mood had completely changed. A little boy's courage and curiosity had turned an ordinary airplane ride into a magical experience that would stay in the memories of everyone who saw it. The airplane glided through a clear blue sky. Outside the window, the sun reflected off the clouds, creating a soft golden light that filled the cabin. Inside, passengers were quietly enjoying the flight, sipping drinks, reading, or glancing out of the window. Yet near seat 12B, a small miracle was unfolding. Leo sat comfortably on his mother's lap, still holding the spinning toy that had captured everyone's attention. His bright brown eyes scanned the cabin, curious and alert. Anna gently patted his back, proud of how calm and brave he had become. Suddenly, Maya returned to check on them. She knelt slightly, her calm presence once again drawing Leo's attention. Hello, little explorer, she said softly. Would you like to see something new? Leo tilted his head and focused on her, his small fingers clutching the toy tightly. He didn't reach for her immediately, but his eyes showed curiosity. The passengers nearby leaned slightly forward, sensing that something unusual might happen again. Maya smiled and reached into a small bag she carried. She pulled out a simple, shiny object, a little wind-up music box. She held it carefully so Leo could see it. This makes music when you turn it, she said softly. Would you like to try? Leo's eyes widened. He had never seen anything like it before. He reached forward with one tiny hand, hesitated for a moment, then gently touched the music box. It began to play a soft, cheerful melody. The sound caught everyone's attention. The passengers paused what they were doing. Some smiled. Others looked around, curious to see which child had brought this sudden joy to the cabin. Leo's reaction was immediate. He clapped his small hands together, laughing brightly. The music seemed to delight him in a way that nothing else had so far. Maya gently guided his hand to wind the box again. He did it carefully, fascinated by how his tiny motion could create such a cheerful sound. Anna whispered softly, "Leo, you are amazing. Look at how happy everyone is because of you." Passengers nearby began to smile and quietly comment to each other. "That little boy. He's making everyone feel good," a woman said to her friend. A man across the aisle nodded. "I've never seen a baby so calm and happy on a plane," he said. Then something unexpected happened. Leo's laughter and excitement grew louder. He held the music box in one hand and pointed to a passenger sitting across the aisle, a young man reading a book. The man looked up in surprise. Without warning, Leo stood up slightly on his mother's lap, still holding the music box. His small body wobbled, but he did not cry or fall. Instead, he turned his eyes toward the man and smiled brightly. The man, unsure at first, reached out slowly. Leo's small hand moved toward his, and he gently tapped it as if inviting the man to join in his fun. The entire cabin fell silent for a moment. Passengers watched, mouths slightly open. A baby had just interacted with a stranger in a way that was full of trust and joy. It was so unusual that people could not look away. Maya stayed close, ready to support him if needed, but she remained calm. Leo had taken control of the moment with surprising confidence. His tiny gestures, his laughter, and the cheerful music from the wind-up box filled the aisle with happiness. Anna held her breath, amazed. "Leo, you are incredible," she whispered. She had never seen him act with such courage. The man smiled, laughing softly. "Wow, this is amazing," he said. He gently tapped Leo's small hand again. Other passengers leaned closer, smiling at the interaction. A quiet sense of wonder filled the cabin. Even the flight attendants passing by paused for a moment. They had seen many children on planes, but something about Leo's bravery, curiosity, and joy was different. It was magnetic. People could not help but watch. Leo returned his attention to the music box, winding it once more. The melody filled the small corner of the plane, and he giggled, pointing toward the windows and the clouds outside. His happiness was contagious. By now, almost everyone in the nearby rows had stopped their work, their reading, or their conversations. They were watching Leo, smiling quietly and feeling a warmth spread through them. A tiny child on a plane had turned a simple flight into a magical experience that touched everyone. Anna whispered to Maya, "I cannot believe this. He is connecting with everyone." Maya smiled softly. "Sometimes children have a way of surprising us. Leo is showing courage, curiosity, and joy all at once. That is why everyone is watching him." Leo looked around, his small face full of wonder, completely unaware of the attention he had drawn. He only knew one thing. He was having fun, and he was sharing that fun with the world around him. The airplane moved smoothly above the clouds. Outside, the sunlight reflected off the wings, making small bright spots that danced across the cabin walls. Inside, the atmosphere around seat 12B had transformed completely. Passengers were no longer busy with their phones, books, or conversations. All eyes were quietly on Leo, the small boy whose laughter and curiosity had captured everyone's attention. Leo was still holding the wind-up music box. The cheerful melody filled the aisle as he carefully wound it again. His tiny hands moved with surprising skill, and his brown eyes sparkled as he watched the toy spin. Every turn of the music box brought a new burst of giggles and joy from him. Anna held him on her lap, smiling proudly. "Leo, look at everyone watching you," she whispered. "You are amazing." Leo turned his head slightly, noticing the passengers around him. A few of them smiled and waved. Leo responded instinctively with small waves of his own, his laughter bubbling through the cabin. The joy in his actions spread like sunlight, reaching the people sitting a few rows back. Even those who had been tired or anxious now smiled. Maya knelt near them again, observing Leo quietly. She had a calm and professional presence, but she also had a hint of awe in her eyes. "Leo, you are very special," she said softly. "Look at how everyone enjoys your happiness." Leo's tiny curiosity was not done. He reached toward the aisle slightly, still holding the music box, and pointed toward a flight attendant passing by with a drink cart. The attendant paused, noticing the boy's enthusiasm. "Hello, little one," the flight attendant said gently. "Do you like the music?" Leo nodded eagerly. Then something remarkable happened. He held the music box high with both hands, spinning it slightly so the cheerful melody rang clearly. His eyes scanned the cabin, and he seemed to invite everyone to join in. Passengers, young and old, began to react. A teenage girl leaned over from her seat, clapping softly. A father lifted his daughter slightly on his lap so she could see Leo better. An elderly man smiled and whispered to his wife, "Look at that. A small child is spreading so much happiness." Even the flight attendants walking past paused for a moment. They had seen many children, but Leo's courage and pure joy were unusual. A baby who had been shy and nervous moments ago was now the center of attention, not in a disruptive way, but in a way that made the entire plane lighter and brighter. Anna felt her chest fill with pride. "Leo, you are incredible," she whispered. Her son's reaction was not just playful. It was inspiring. He had turned an ordinary flight into a memorable experience for everyone. Leo giggled again, this time looking directly at a young boy 3 rows behind him. The boy waved, and Leo waved back, his tiny fingers moving so naturally. The interaction made other passengers notice. Soon, quiet smiles and soft whispers spread across several rows. People were sharing the small joy of a child in an unexpected moment of connection. Maya observed quietly, knowing her role was to support, not interfere. She smiled as Leo continued to explore the music box, giggling with delight. He had become completely absorbed in his little world, yet somehow everyone else on the plane was part of it too. The plane seemed calmer and happier than it had in a long time. Anxiety, tiredness, and stress had been replaced by gentle smiles and quiet laughter. It was remarkable how a small child, through curiosity, bravery, and joy, could influence so many strangers in such a short time. Anna patted Leo gently. "See what you are doing, Leo," she whispered. "You are making everyone happy, and you are doing it with your own courage and curiosity." Leo's bright eyes met hers, and he giggled, as if he understood the message. Then he held the music box higher, spinning it again, creating sparkling patterns of light that reflected across the cabin. The passengers' attention returned fully to him, and for a few moments, the airplane felt like a tiny world filled with laughter, wonder, and connection. Even the flight attendants passing by paused to watch him. One whispered softly to Maya, "I've never seen a baby make a whole section of the plane so alive. He's amazing." Leo's innocent joy continued to shine, touching everyone around him. The airplane, once filled with quiet chatter and sleepy passengers, was now transformed. A small child had reminded everyone of the simple beauty of curiosity, courage, and happiness. And in that small section near seat 12B, Leo continued to giggle and explore, completely unaware of the magic he had created. The airplane continued to move smoothly through the bright blue sky. Outside, the clouds stretched like soft white blankets across the horizon. Inside, the cabin was calm but filled with quiet excitement near seat 12B. Leo, the small boy whose curiosity and courage had already captured everyone's attention, was about to create another moment that would shock the passengers. Leo sat on his mother Anna's lap, holding the music box. His bright brown eyes scanned the aisle as he noticed a flight attendant, Maya, walking nearby with a small tray of snacks. He let out a tiny squeal of excitement, pointing toward her. His gesture was simple, but the way he focused on her drew the attention of nearby passengers. Anna smiled, holding him gently. "Leo, it's okay. You can watch," she whispered. She trusted Maya and wanted her son to enjoy the moment, but she did not expect what would happen next. Maya paused, noticing his excitement. She knelt slightly and spoke softly. "Do you want to share the music with everyone?" she asked. Leo blinked, then nodded slowly. He held the music box higher, his small fingers spinning it carefully. The cheerful melody began to fill the aisle more clearly. Passengers nearby noticed immediately. A young woman holding a cup of tea smiled. A man reading a newspaper put it down and leaned forward. Even the children on the plane watched, their eyes wide with fascination. It was unusual for a baby to command such attention without making noise or fuss. Then Leo did something truly surprising. He carefully stretched his tiny hands toward the center aisle. Without hesitation, he let out a small, joyful laugh and pointed toward the rows in front of him. It was as if he wanted everyone to notice the music and share in his happiness. A ripple of surprise went through the cabin. Passengers glanced at each other, unsure at first, but then began to follow Leo's lead. Slowly, adults and children alike started to smile, tapping their fingers lightly to the rhythm of the music. Leo's laughter grew louder, bright and innocent, and it echoed softly in the small corner of the plane. Anna held him closer, amazed. "Leo, you are incredible," she whispered. Her son's reaction was not only fearless but also magnetic. He had a way of connecting with people that no adult could teach. Maya stayed near, gently guiding him without interrupting. She noticed how confident he had become. A tiny child, only 2 years old, was now influencing the mood of the entire cabin. The passengers, initially quiet and focused on themselves, were now sharing smiles, laughter, and soft whispers because of him. Then Leo did the unexpected. He leaned slightly forward, pointing toward a young boy seated 3 rows ahead. The boy looked back, startled at first, but when he saw Leo's bright smile and the cheerful melody, he grinned and clapped his hands softly. Leo giggled in response, spinning the music box faster. The effect spread quickly. Passengers began to notice the interaction. Adults whispered to each other with smiles on their faces. Children waved and clapped lightly. Even some passengers who had been nervous or tired now sat upright, watching in fascination. Anna patted Leo gently, her heart swelling with pride. "Look at what you are doing, Leo," she whispered. "You are making everyone happy, and you are doing it all by yourself." Leo responded with another squeal of laughter, the music box's melody mingling with his tiny voice. The cabin had transformed completely. What had been ordinary seats and quiet passengers was now a small, shared moment of joy. The entire section of the plane seemed alive with warmth and happiness. Maya smiled, her calm presence steadying the moment. "Sometimes the simplest gestures create the biggest surprises," she whispered to Anna. "And Leo, he has just created one of the most memorable moments I have seen on a plane." Passengers, young and old, continued to watch Leo with quiet wonder. Some took pictures with their phones discreetly, not wanting to miss the moment. Others whispered softly, exchanging smiles with strangers as they shared in the magic of a small child's innocent joy. Leo's tiny hands, his laughter, and his fearless curiosity had done something remarkable. He had shocked the entire plane, not with mischief, not with fuss, but with pure happiness. The airplane was no longer just a vehicle moving through the sky. It had become a place of connection, warmth, and shared amazement, all because of one brave little boy. The airplane flew steadily above the clouds, the sun casting soft golden light across the cabin. The passengers had grown quiet, but there was a sense of shared happiness in the air. All of this had started with one small boy, Leo, whose curiosity and courage had surprised everyone. Leo sat comfortably on his mother Anna's lap, still holding the music box. His tiny fingers spun it gently, the cheerful melody filling the aisle. But now he did something even more remarkable. He looked around the cabin, his brown eyes bright with excitement, and he let out a small, playful squeal. Passengers turned their heads again, drawn to his joyful voice. A little girl across the aisle waved at him. Leo waved back eagerly, and his laughter seemed to echo softly through the cabin. The adults watched with soft smiles, feeling the warmth of the moment settle over them. Anna whispered to him, "Leo, you are amazing. Everyone loves you." Leo giggled in response, spinning the music box again. Then he reached slightly forward, pointing toward another passenger, a man who had been quietly reading a book. The man looked up, surprised, and smiled. Leo waved at him, and the man waved back. The small interaction was simple, yet it seemed to bring something magical to the whole cabin. Maya knelt nearby, quietly observing. She had been the first to notice Leo's bravery, and now she was witnessing the effects ripple across the airplane. Passengers were smiling at each other, sharing looks of wonder and gentle laughter. Children clapped softly. Even those who had seemed tired or annoyed were now fully engaged in the small joy spreading around them. Leo's curiosity was unstoppable. He leaned slightly to reach for the window, his tiny hand brushing against the shade. The sunlight streaming through created patterns across his face. He laughed and turned back to the aisle, holding the music box high. The cheerful tune seemed to bounce off the walls of the cabin, filling every corner with light and sound. Anna held him securely, whispering softly, "Look at everyone. Leo, you are sharing happiness with the whole plane." Passengers quietly took note. A woman 2 rows back whispered to her companion, "It's amazing how a tiny child can change the whole mood." A man near the window nodded. "Yes, I have never seen a baby have so much courage and joy." Leo noticed a flight attendant walking toward them with a small tray of drinks. He held up the music box again and squealed happily. The flight attendant paused, smiling at the little boy's excitement. She reached down and waved, and Leo waved back eagerly. The moment was simple, yet it held a strange power. Everyone watching felt lighter, as if the ordinary rules of the airplane had shifted for a small moment of magic. Maya whispered to Anna, "He is teaching everyone something important." Sometimes courage and joy do not come from adults, they come from children. Anna smiled, watching her son with pride. "He is special," she said softly. Leo's laughter grew as he noticed a small boy in the row ahead trying to mimic the spinning of the music box. Leo clapped his hands together and the boy smiled and clapped too. Soon a few children joined in, laughing softly. Adults watched, quietly touched by the way a simple act of play could unite everyone in the cabin. The airplane felt lighter. The passengers had been strangers, each absorbed in their own lives, yet now they shared in something beautiful. Leo, a tiny boy with wide eyes and a fearless heart, had created a connection that crossed age, experience, and distance. Anna hugged him close, whispering, "You have done something wonderful. Leo, you have shown everyone courage, curiosity, and happiness." Leo giggled, spinning the music box one last time, and waved to the passengers who were still watching. Their smiles met his bright eyes, and for a few minutes, the airplane was not just a vehicle flying above the clouds. It was a place full of warmth, laughter, and connection. Maya stood and looked around, a quiet sense of admiration in her eyes. "I will never forget this moment," she whispered. She had seen many passengers, many children, but Leo had done something unique. His courage, curiosity, and joy had created a shared magic that could not be explained. And for Leo, it was simple. He had played, laughed, and explored. Yet in doing so, he had shocked and inspired everyone on the plane, leaving an invisible mark of happiness that would remain long after the flight ended. The airplane glided steadily above the clouds, the sunlight now soft and golden as it began to move toward evening. The cabin had transformed completely from a quiet, ordinary space into a place filled with warmth, smiles, and a shared sense of wonder. All of this had begun with a small boy, Leo, whose courage and curiosity had touched everyone on board. Leo sat on his mother Anna's lap, holding the music box in his tiny hands. His bright brown eyes were full of joy as he spun it gently, creating the cheerful melody that had brought smiles to so many faces. He laughed softly, his innocent giggle echoing lightly in the aisle. Anna held him close, whispering, "Leo, you are amazing. You have made everyone happy." Leo responded with a small squeal of delight, waving his tiny hand toward a young boy a few rows ahead. The boy waved back, and a quiet ripple of laughter moved through the cabin. Other passengers smiled at the simple exchange. Some clapped softly, while others whispered to each other about the remarkable little boy who had turned an ordinary flight into a shared moment of joy. Maya, the flight attendant who had first approached them, knelt nearby and smiled. "Leo, you have shown everyone something very special," she said softly. "You have courage, curiosity, and happiness that can change the world around you, even here on this airplane." Leo's eyes widened as he listened, and he giggled again. The cabin seemed almost magical in that moment, filled with quiet happiness. Passengers who had been strangers just hours ago now shared small smiles and gentle looks, connected through the simple joy of a tiny child. A man sitting across the aisle whispered to his companion, "I have never seen a baby bring so much happiness to a whole plane. He is extraordinary." The woman nodded quietly, holding her cup of tea, her eyes still on Leo. Even the flight attendants passing by paused for a moment, smiling at the little boy who had captured everyone's attention. Some quietly commented to each other about how unusual it was for a child to influence an entire cabin, and how refreshing it was to witness something so innocent and pure. Leo continued to spin the music box, his tiny fingers moving carefully. He held it up high as if showing it to the whole cabin, and the cheerful melody rang clearly. Passengers watched him, smiling quietly, and some even began to tap their hands softly to the rhythm. The small corner of the plane around seat 12B had become a place of connection, warmth, and shared happiness. Anna whispered to him again, "You have done something wonderful, Leo. You have shown everyone the joy in simple things." Leo's bright eyes met hers, and he laughed softly, spinning the music box once more. He had no idea how much he had touched the people around him. For him it was only play and curiosity, but for the passengers it had become something unforgettable. As the plane began its slow descent toward the airport, the atmosphere remained warm and light. Passengers quietly prepared for landing, but many still glanced at Leo, sharing soft smiles and nods with his mother. The small boy had brought happiness, courage, and connection to the whole cabin, and that feeling would stay with everyone long after the flight ended. Maya gave Anna a gentle nod. "Thank you for letting him be himself. He has reminded all of us that bravery and joy can come in the smallest forms." Anna smiled, holding Leo close. "He is my little miracle," she said softly, her heart full of pride. Leo let out one final giggle, waving at the passengers who smiled back at him. The cabin was quiet now, but it carried a sense of peace and happiness that could not be measured. The airplane had become more than a mode of travel. It had become a place of shared joy, all because of one small boy's curiosity, courage, and innocence. As the plane touched the runway and rolled to a gentle stop, passengers began to gather their belongings, but the smiles and warmth remained. Some exchanged quiet words about the tiny boy who had changed their day. Anna picked up Leo and hugged him tightly. "Leo, you did something amazing," she whispered. "Everyone will remember you today." Leo giggled again, happy and content. He had no idea how much joy he had shared, but his laughter and courage had left a lasting impression. And in that moment, the airplane, the passengers, and Leo himself all shared a quiet, unforgettable magic.